rock through another good old week just decoding with Dregz. Just gonna take a look at those THOR calls and see what's popping, seeing ways to look at them and dive in through it and make the most out of them. Let's see. Today, definitely gonna check out to see what direction we think we're going overall. I think that's a big question to answer. As you can see, yeah, it looks like, you know, you got those 150s is what kind of been sticking out to me with Soul. Yeah, so just sitting down, I'll probably throw that 151. 152 is cool too. Oh no. That green. Yeah, that was the 4 hour. The 1 hour is not having much there right now, and the shorter term stuff isn't there. But yeah, definitely looks like that 160 to 151 is probably a solid buy zone if I was to hit that. Kind of even just drawing those lines seems legit.
Yeah, I have a zone there. Yeah.
Yep, it makes perfect sense. But also echoed by some of those little sell points. It's around there. It looks like, you know, we're closer to the buys, so, you know, looking at that, it kind of makes me think we're definitely, I mean, looks totally like we would do another kind of repeating that movement that kind of happened before. Probably another wick like right in the middle, kind of like that is what I could see it kind of going down. Yeah, just kind of go straight through it. Yeah, that makes sense for me, that 160 zone. What also makes me think that would be looking at Bitcoin. Oh, some new ones came in since I've looked, but I'll kind of start with that 1 day. No, 59. It's the upper 59 too. Yeah, just 59. I'd stick it at like I always try to front run it a little bit. Some of those calls, especially on the 1 day, it could hit lower, but especially if I'm using something like drift or some dexes, it's kind of nice to pump it up just a little bit. Sometimes just in general, it might hit a little bit above that entry zone, and it sucks to miss a good move like that. And even though it is kind of seemingly, I wouldn't say daunting, but once you hit that zone, they all seem like when they get to that deeper area, we kind of jump back up to kind of a local zone that we're in right now. And hitting that TP3 looks like a 13%. So, I mean, that's a solid play. And plus the Soul also. Yeah, so if we did hit that lower one, pump us up to right where we are now. Which is, what is that kind of movement? If you went, what is that? Got right around there. Yeah, around the same, 15 instead of 13. It's around there, yeah. 10 to 15% if we hit that kind of lower area and bounce back. So it makes sense for us to do that. Unless we just get bamboozled and go back up. But for timing and everything, for me, it kind of makes sense just before, I guess, the halving and all that kind of stuff. It seems like there'd be some interesting price action before then. Not really too sure how much it would really affect everything anyways, but just kind of people's reactions to news and stuff. It'll be interesting to see. But on the shorter edge, it'd be nice to know the call came in, was it yesterday or something, for the 1 day. But I think I've seen it echoed before too, like the 59. Oh damn, that one, the 81 short again on the 4 hour. Be wild to see, but looks like THOR also kind of, I wouldn't say doesn't know, but it's kind of undecided too on where we're supposed to be going. There's no clear-cut way, so that's what makes it a little difficult leveraging and making a big heavy move right here. And that's kind of why I've been shy of trading too much, besides anything I've been already involved in. Just kind of setting stuff aside and setting those limit orders for those lower areas. Something that I've been focused on. Those are cool to see and they're hopeful. I love to see those shorts that are in new all-time highs, which is definitely bullish, but they all get invalidated if we go to any of those longs that are below. So yeah, looking at Bitcoin, there could be some fun in-between price movement though too on that 15-minute. You got 28. That lower time frame. Could always have fun too. Let's see. Back at the 29. So the whole play is around the 29 would be like a 1%, 3%. It's fun. I could see that bounce coming from down there, going down and kind of giving it a little recovery bounce on its way down. It would make sense to do that, but not a big enough play for me to really jump aboard. The 171 is probably a more local top, so something like that's kind of good for me if I'm just kind of sculpting out my, there's a 130. It's kind of sculpting out those local tops. Oh, look at that. Just skims across there. Just those lines that THOR gives you are so powerful, because I feel like, I mean, sure, you could eyeball some of these things, but just entering it in and drawing those lines, it's nice, because I wouldn't have to do too many crazy things, but it's just really cool to kind of come to something like that real quick and kind of eyeing that local top. Makes sense visually too, without using a bunch of TA. That's what I love about it. So you can develop that local top, and then you have that there too. So it's kind of a fun range to kind of see where we'll locally be in. Both of the TPs kind of put you, if you hit that, it's going to come right around here, and if you hit the long, it could put you right around the middle too. So it's definitely range bound between these 2 points for a little bit until we get some major volume or movement. So yeah, it looks like for the short term, BTC stuck there and then kind of makes its way down, unless something switches up, but that's just kind of the way it seems to be looking. And I'd always like to be on the side of if I'm spot trading and the price goes down, I'd always want to open myself up. Obviously, I am exposed to BTC, but as I always mention, more often this is getting traded in the Sol BTC pairing. Right now, we don't have any calls, but I should have. That's not pulling up. Oh darn! Well, that's where all my charting was. Maybe my mouse is. Anyways, that's being weird. Let's skip that. check out another trade that I'm involved in, and kind of a realistic idea of what happens when, you know, THOR call kind of falls through in a way. Maybe a call hit and I wasn't able to spend as much time focused on it. Yeah, there it is. Cool. And sometimes I miss out on good exits because I maybe was too confident and didn't set a new little TP for myself. Oh, yeah. So I think the story goes there was some entries around like this, I think 1070, 1060, and then some more entries that were around like 1040. So I hit both of them, kind of DCA'd in. Also bought some more at around 9, right around this zone here. That gave me an average of about 9.8. Not the best, you know. Definitely not in the winning side of things, but yeah, 9% down. Like, oh, where's the stop loss? I could have probably hit some stop loss, stopped out, got a better position, and ran with it. But, you know, sometimes I'm not there to manage it all the time. You know, you work and sometimes don't set up the automations, and I don't really like to take the loss all the time either. I'm just kind of like put a little extra work for the W. And at this point, I am, let's see, what have I think I've only maxed out on like 1x. So haven't used leverage just yet in this trade. But this is when this is a perfect example. I was talking about deploying some leverage to give me a better position and to make a play that will take this price down a little bit more and kind of get my head above water in the trade. And what I did, yeah, it was this call. This is a 1 hour. There's a 1 hour and 15 minute that came up this morning. The 8.74 is where I kind of put this one. I might raise it up to that bottom wick there just to kind of fine tune it. Sometimes I just like to, especially for something like this where I'm going to go in with a bit more size, it's kind of nice and ensured that I'm going to get that price and not just the tip of the wick. Again, as I use drift, it's not always the most fun to get filled on stuff. But what I plan to do there is deploy like 0.5x, so that should take this price down. I want to push it down just a little bit more. Oh, there were more short. Okay, here they were. There were shorts at the 9.3 zone. It's like 9.3 to 9. It's right here. It's pretty much where the shorts are going to be hitting. So the idea is, if I deploy enough leverage to get kind of right around here, I can let go of that leverage right around this stop point. The idea then would be to use that leverage to give me a lower entry. I release that leverage so I'm no longer leveraged in once I go above that. So I maybe break even on my leverage and then get a better entry. So that's kind of a way that I carefully start grinding a bit more into it, because I was pretty bullish on this. The RSIs keeps getting pretty low, and even on the 1 day we're kind of testing that one zone again where it likes to kind of bounce off of through time. Though it can go lower, but I'll just make sure my liquidation isn't anywhere near that. Typically, when I would look up what it was doing, it'd be around 3 to 4. And yeah, I'm pretty confident we don't go there, but you know, you always have to watch the risk. Here is the zone that I'm in mentally. I'm ready, you know, acknowledging that this could happen too. But more specifically, this is kind of the way I like to try to use leverage my way out of a situation. And that's kind of a way to do it. I acknowledge these 15 minutes, but I don't really think they're super strong. They're just going to send us right back to where we are right now. So that's just kind of a little range bound. So that's why I'm a little confident in it hitting that, shaving off a little bit of that leverage, and then perhaps at the 10:30, 10:20, I'm going to lower this guy back maybe down to the 30. Somewhere, yeah, that makes sense. Right around there. So it captures that wick if we get another spike up to that. So then I'll be at least getting profits there. Start to make it so this price gets down lower, and then if we do get a bullish push, I'll be in a much better situation, and with the more gains on top of that. It's kind of the way I like to use THOR mid trade. You know, I could just bail out of it, but it's kind of fun to navigate something like this too. You know, if you got the time. But yeah, that's kind of my plan, would be to hopefully hit that. If not, I might buy a bit more here at the zone if we're showing strength and not gonna retest that zone. I might just go ahead and buy some more to lower that to hopefully get closer. Even if I do, sometimes I can let go of leverage, and I have before deleveraged when it gets just below my point. If I lower the cost and then we have a nice little spike, I'll still deleverage at a lower loss, so I can mitigate my losses too, which is another way, not preferred, but hey, that's the reality sometimes we have to do. If we're not using stop loss, then we gotta play a different game sometimes. But yeah, I'm acknowledging that it could go lower too, because we looked at Sol and BTC, and those have that ability. I mean, the kind of guiding the market. So if that has a significant dip like that, I'm sure some of this stuff may follow, even for a quick stop. But still, it's good to say, hey, that's why I like starting with those big coins, seeing where they're going. And then if there's nothing but, you know, shorts and no longs, then I'm more confident that it might not hit there. But I'm still always acknowledging that, you know, if something slips up, to be still in a good position mentally where I'm not worried about the capital that I'm risking, because that's never fun. Let's see. Curious what. Guess we had some stuff run for Jupe last week. Looks like that probably was a entry zone around this point last week, and it kind of dipped below. These times it kind of makes sense for it to, like I said before, all the other ones are kind of slipping down, so this makes sense to have a little weakness. Looking through them all, little time frames got from the shorts only exist, and they exist at 130 to 160. Yeah, so it's like 130. Yeah, dang. Yeah, not much. One. Pretty much where that green line is would be a more local top. Nice, just bouncing around there. It'll be interesting to see if it pops up from there, but if it does, it looks like it might have some of that resistance at a few zones from the 130, the 140, and up there. When you hit each one, they all bring it down to this zone again too. So that's another one. I've been spot trading this, more of just accumulation. So I kind of only been really looking out for this when it has the longs. I'm not really selling or shorting this. Just kind of accumulating. Jupe is one of the ones that just throw some gains into when there's some good entries available. I don't know if anyone else has a coin you want to check out or look into. If Thor has a call for it, you can check it out.
So what do you think about PYTH? Does it have a PYTH call in Thor?
You said a PYTH?
Yeah, PYTH.
I see. I know. I probably didn't say PYTH or Python or PYTH.
Rinder.
Rinder.
Right.
Oh, yeah, we got. All right, let's flip it. Oh yeah. The zones that never hit. Let's clean this up. Dang, yeah. A few shorts. The 80, 79, 80. Only a couple cents down, so nothing too fun. That looks interesting. $96, but we'll say 95, so definitely do the lower edge. And again, repeated on the 4 hour. That's a nice short to see, though it's invalidated in at 76, so we're really close to invalidating that really cool fun call. So 70 4 hour. I do like a good old 4 hour, the 1 days, but 4 hours just a little more faster than that 1 day. See that in 60. Yeah, no short-term longs. Oof. So it seems like, yeah, just those calls. Mapping that one out. Yeah, it doesn't look like I'd probably, if I was not in PYTH, I probably wouldn't be jumping in too crazy here, just because we're within a cent or so of invalidating that 94 short. Then you have that local top, so you almost have like a percent or so. Yeah, 3% till you hit a top with a nice 10% dip, probably waiting. Oops. Just looking back on, yeah, which would again definitely looks solid, but just the way everything else in the market was looking, it looks like we might take the dip. So that's a good DCA. I mean, it's solid. The 70 and 60 probably would, of course, say pumped it up just a little past the stuff. I'd always like to do 71 or 61 and change, just to make sure your order hits if it is volatile. Let's see. Yeah, and the ranges, that's what's exciting about all this too, is everything I'm seeing with these calls is when it hits the lowest one, the lowest long, like 4 hour or 1 day call, it looks like we are, like the TP on that is 92, just 53%. That's would be badass, but realistically, it would do a 30% just to get back up into this range at its first TP. And that's pretty great. It just tells me that we won't. It's still bullish overall. Like it's still. That's not. I'm not too worried to see that 40%. Wait, how much is that for PYTH? No, it's only 20. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, nothing too crazy to see, and it looks like they all have this formation going too. I've seen a lot of similar kind of. Oh yeah, it hasn't been around that long. Let's see. They all seem like they have that little top heaviness. It's probably for the best we hit those lows as hopefully sooner than later, so we can start moving our way back up again. But yeah, looks like 70 and 60 are some solid DCA points. And maybe add a little extra leverage or something if I was trading like that at the 60. That's something I'll note and watch out for. Speaking of watching out for, reminds me of this one, which is a little arboretum, which is on my radar for a while. I'm just staring at this long call, 1 day for, since end of March, Yeah, so we were up here. It didn't seem like we would be hitting the $1.88 point, but here we are. It kind of looks a lot more possible, especially on this. What I like about this one too is if we were to hit. Oh, look at that. These happened a long time ago, but these points sometimes where it was a sell point, oh, it's now a buy. Look at that. Months later. Let's see. 87. That's funny. And just bump it up there, and you got that kind of range for that lower day call. And then 134. That's another good DCA point, but if you notice on these TPs, they're all pretty solid ranges, which is what we like to see. That bottom, if you got that bottom zone and bounce up to TP1, I got a 52. It's like a 70% gap to fill. Even at this guy here, it wants to supposedly hit that point, and at 74, maybe at a 30%, it goes up all the way, 50. So these are probably a really good trade or arboretum, something to watch out for. Got some shorts too that are asking for higher, though. If we hit that long, it's going to invalidate all these shorts, but I'm sure they'd pop up at some point again. 124, even got that another point right here in the 4 hour. It's kind of reassessing the situation once we get there of how heavy to go into it, but I'd probably just something I'd have to see when we get there, but it looks like those lower ones looming. I wouldn't ignore those either. If we do, and that's just another call. That's another call that looks like the similar gap of a call throughout all of these coins. They're kind of sharing that lower zone. This one's not even that far for it, but more of that 24 and $1 point. Yeah, that's telling me, and thankfully, you know, that's why I love Thor too. It's just saying, hey, don't go in and buy a bunch of stuff right now. And kind of the vibe that I'm personally getting from that and how I'm interpreting that, it's good. Obviously, I have exposure to the markets, but I'm definitely got some stables out with some limit orders ready. Kind of just what I grasp out of that. Even though there are short calls, just the vibe of the market kind of got you seemingly like we're going down. But that be as it may, everything could just flip around on the turn of a coin. So if I could read the future, I'd have a whole lot more Bitcoin. I'll tell you that. Let's see. Yeah, I guess any other questions or coins to dive into that Thor may have some. Interesting calls for.
I'm mainly interested in the Solana ecosystem calls and we got that pretty much, I think, what THOR offers.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, what was that? It was a little low.
I think we got. I'm just interested in the Solana ecosystem coins, basically from THOR. I think we got them right. Jupiter and PYTH, Randa, yeah.
Yeah.
Shadow or Nosana is not in THOR, right?
You said Shadow? Yeah, we don't have Shadow in Thor. We could Rinder. That Rinder.
What up, Dregz?
Oh, what's
Jingo.
good?
Chilling, man. Just finished work. Thought I'd pop in and see what you got going.
Oh, hell yeah. Just going through them coins. Seeing, I don't know if any other...
BONK?
BONK? Yeah. Let's check out some BONKs. See what Thor's saying. If it's not giving us 500 calls, let's see. I don't know. I think everyone's. I don't know. I haven't heard much buzzing about BONK lately. Hasn't been. I guess I personally just haven't looked into it lately. Let's see. So no, we had still dancing around that. $123, it's dipping. That's 16, yeah. For BONK too, I guess you could play these ones, but 24, 20 to 24 on the short term, 24. Then just run down here. Still got that 12 and 10. That's what kind of spooked me out of some other buys from them, but I guess you have to say what's up to that. 16 upper. So that's probably the one I'm be looking at. Is that 16.87 to 16.6. That has a nice one because it kind of puts you back up to where we are now. So it's kind of like a little recovery bounce from our current situation. And then they got the 30. So that the 4 hour I think paints a really good range that we are currently chilling in. So kind of, for me, yeah, it's fun. I guess we'll leave that there. Makes sense if you're doing a little trading that little mid zone here. But for me, that big gap is really fun because let's see how big it is. It's like, yeah, it's a 74% space between there. 36 up and 22 down. So yeah, when it catches some movement like that, it'll be good. And again, what we've been talking about, just seeing which way the market's going. Yet again, we had that 20% dip, and it looks like the market, yeah, look at that, another 20. They're all were kind of hitting around like that zone, 20, 30 to 13%. I think 13 to 20 is what I see a lot of these calls putting us at, but then rebounding up to where we are now or higher. So again, that's like, oh, it's cool if you want to go for the 20 DCA, but I would probably go hard more at the 16. That one day's been hanging out, or whatever that is, that one call that's been just chilling forever. Yeah, since March. I guess we never hit that invalidation zone. It's kind of annoying to see it there, but I'd probably trade and kind of ignore that. But, you know, with BONK and everything, it's crazy. So if some big wick does happen, I guess anything could happen here in the world of crypto. But yeah, so yeah, my opinion, I probably, from looking at THOR, would probably do some heavier buys at that upper 16, like around 17 with those 4 zeros. But it's kind of been stuck here for a couple of weeks now. Yeah.
Yo, do you have like a target every week that you try to aim for, like profit wise, between like everything you do on chain, like farming and pools and taking THOR calls and all that?
I never really kind of looked at it that way. I kind of, for me, I try to beat my paychecks.
Yeah, sure.
for my, yeah. So like, that's what I was saying. If I can make a certain amount more than what I earn in a paycheck, and you know, so every 2 weeks is kind of when I come to that. That's kind of how I see my tempo. Like if am I really doing something that's self-sufficient and self-sustaining, or you know, could it keep up with my lifestyle? Yeah. You know, because to quit work is our our dream, but yeah. So that's kind of.
But you got to be making it reliably to. Yeah, no, I hear you. So, how do you go about that then? Like, it might not be a certain amount per day or whatever, but it's trying to beat that monthly salary. Like, are you just looking for what's happening on THOR, like what has calls, and then you're jumping in, or like, let's say you were trying to make $100 a day or a couple hundred extra bucks a week. What would your approach be to kind of systematize it?
Yeah, I'd see how close I was to some of these calls that we're doing, some of the 4 hours. So if we're doing the scan, if I see that we're really close proximity to a 4 hour, they take time to play out. So it kind of doesn't work for the day, but if I wanted to, that's something I look at for big gains is, can I do a pretty heavy 4 hour call trade? Or a day trade. The day trades take a long, but if we're just talking about something I would involve myself in, if we're close to that 16, I'd try and rock that and make that play. It depends on the market too. Right now, in this situation, I've kind of been bored with trading, so I personally don't do a lot of the meme coins.
Yeah, I don't really touch them either, so I'm trying to find like
it's like going
what to do.
It's like going to the casino, you know. It's like, yeah, that's so what I view it as. It's got the fun, and hey, you can make a shit ton, but is it reliable?
I'd rather reliably,
yeah, reliably.
I'd rather reliably make money. Yeah, that's the operative word here. Like, I'd rather enter Monday and be like, okay, you know, these are the plays, and I really don't like the casino. That's why I like what Mode preaches. Like, there's no real moon boy shit. It's just kind of you too, right? Like, it's just kind of conservative more so. Stable.
So Mode is definitely more conservative than myself. I don't know. I think from what I've grasped, I think I might be a little more degenerate in some stuff without my stop losses,
Yeah.
so to speak.
No, I enjoy a good bit of degeneracy too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just like reliable profit methods.
Yeah.
Yeah, so still.
So range bounding, and that's where we kind of, okay, if I go to the 4 hour day, it's a good example. We don't get, I don't know, if you see on your charts, generally you'll see our volume kind of dwindles away, and it's more range bound. When I'm not having as much fun or trusting the way things are going, that's when we go into the pools. So my liquidity is always kind of rotating, save for like the Kira pool or something.